Well, improvisation has always been central to who you are. And
It's true.
I think of you as like a spiritual chef who is also an aesthete. And one of the most underappreciated things about you is how the way you arrange food is so beautiful. But the thing that's really amazing is the speed with which you just concoct this beauty. It's like a moment of creative brilliance. Is this something you developed, or is this something that just flows through you?
I think innately I'm an artist. And before I was classically trained, I always knew what a brunoise was, even though I didn't know what it was, right? I knew what I wanted to see. And because I'm so excited and passionate about seeing it immediately, I'm like, I need to see it. So that's where that's where the speed comes from. I think that I also watched my grandmother, Mama Jenny, create these massively beautiful meals in like a half an hour. And she showed me that it's like, look, girl, it is not them. It doesn't have to be you in the kitchen all day, even though I do enjoy being in the kitchen all day sometimes. I think that it's my passion for the art that I want to see, and then the flavors, like, ooh. And then, of course, seeing people enjoy it, you know.
Yeah.
I think it just comes with me. I'm a fast person, I'm a Leo. So I'm like, I like to see if I make my mind up about something, I need it now. I'm like, we're what are we doing?
Well, a lot of us would like to be able to create on the spot like that, but it's very difficult to suddenly create that kind of beauty. Did you know, like at a younger age, that this was the direction you were going to move in, or has your career moved through different paths?
My career has definitely moved through different paths, and I'm actually moving through a new one, which is my more art, more music, more performance, right? But I didn't really know when I was a little girl. I wanted to be on stage, right? I wanted to be a singer, an actress, a model. I was like, that's the life for me. And then I found food, right? And it wasn't just food. I found what I found so fascinating about it was the medicine inherently present in the food. So when I realized that, oh, whoa, dandelion is not only good for the liver, but it's good for the skin. Oh, burdock root is also good for the skin. I'm all, oh, wait, papaya seeds and papaya in general is excellent for the digestion. Once I started to wrap my head around the fact that these fruits and vegetables and this herbs and things, they had action, hidden action that was like embedded upon their cellular structure. It fascinated me so much and turned on my scientist. My grandfather was a chemist. So I think like I just had this thing where I just got like, oh my God, I want to learn how to concoct. I want to learn how to take something that even might be inherently bitter and turn it into something that could be enjoyed, through tinctures, through infusing, through pickling, through fermenting, just the process that food goes through. I became super fascinated with. So that's really where it started. And also because I want it to look good too. I want it
You
to-
know what I think that's a great metaphor for? It's a great metaphor for what we can do with bitter emotions. Because a lot
Mm,
of people just live with bitter emotions and they just say there's nothing I can do with it. But what if this could ferment into wisdom and it
oh,
could teach you about pain and it could teach you
mm,
about, or what if you could infuse that bitterness with a certain kind of sweetness that comes through the learning so
mm.
that what you're doing is using the same metaphor you're talking about in food in the way in which you deal with your emotions. Because I know that you, at your core, you are, firstly, you're such a joyful person. The thing, and one of the things in the world I love doing with you is chair dancing. I think not a lot of people know that once we're in a music vibe, nothing can stop us. Because the joy, it's joy, right? Pure joy.
It's true.
And the joy comes, I think, partly through the connection, but partly because we're both willing to be channels of whatever is coming through us. And
Yes.
I think one of the things that's really remarkable about you is that, for me, one of the reasons you are as brilliant as you are is that you have perfected the art of being a channel. And you allow
Mm.
that, and you sit in the comfort of that in your body, like wherever you are. You're just sort of like, I am just a channel of whatever this is. I'll take care of my body in the routine ways in which I need to, but in the world, I'm going to strive to be more me. Is
Hmm.
there a way that you have? I've noticed because I've followed you some on Instagram and it comes up in my feed. There is a way in which I think you're transitioning to a higher level of authenticity in your life, and the
My God.
beautifulness of that is very noticeable. Can you speak to that a little?
Oh my God. Thank you. Yes. Vulnerability. I think that for so long, especially like in my 20s, I I was focused on being successful, and I was also focused on never going back to um, what I thought was bad, right? Because I was of the way I was looking at it, the lens I was looking at it through. But back to your point of taking bitterness, taking pain, and transforming it, I've become masterful, if I do say so myself, at taking this pain, taking the scraps, taking what nobody wants, and turning it into something beautiful, using it. So if I'm feeling in pain, I lean into it a bit, right? I'm dramatic. I lean into it a bit. Oh, then I paint on my walls. you know I channel a song that just speaks to it. I put on my Billie Holiday hat and I just go into a jazz standard. I've learned how to play in the pain, in the bitterness, and it has allowed me to have more courage in showing up as who I am. Because one of the reasons why I wasn't ready for the stage is because you have to really be vulnerable if you want to be a great performer. If you want to be a great artist, then it's not just about performing. Actually, the best performance is a non-performance, is where you're feeling and when you're flowing. And that takes courage. That takes the ability to just bear yourself. And I wasn't ready to do that. I was like, I am a Leo and I am perfect and I feel nothing. you know? And that's just not reality, nor does it really resonate the way that I want it to resonate. It doesn't exactly connect me with my tribe, right? We had a conversation once when, you know, we were talking about how the neurons, before we even touch, there's like a non-physical experience happening between you and I, which is why we connected. When I saw you on stage at John Assaraf's, I was like, those boots. Oh my God, the outfit was, and then the vibe. I was like, I love this guy. Out of every single person, I mean, everyone there was great, but I'm like, this is my friend, you know.
I
But
felt it
anyway,
instantly. I think I felt it instantly, and I also think what I appreciate about what you're saying about humanity is, firstly, we have 100 billion neurons and 100 trillion connections, and so it's almost impossible for only one emotion to exist at the same time. Yet we tend to
mm,
focus on just one emotion. For example, what you were saying about, if I get angry and the paint on the wall, and you're seeing the joy in the expression of that emotion. It reminds me of a line from a Shirley Bassey song, which was, I'd like to run away from you, but if you never found me, I would die. It's sort of like,
oh, that is it. That
yeah,
is what I live.
I'd like to break the chains you put around me, but I know I never could. Impossible to live with you, but I could never live without you.
Mm,
So just whatever those paradoxes are, these paradoxes are inherent in all human beings. And I think
yeah,
what you're saying is when you go to your authentic, vulnerable place, the paradoxes show. And most of
yeah,
us are trying to make us ourselves into one thing and not another. But if you can
yeah,
just accept that the nature of being human is paradoxical at the manifest level, it can open the doors to something that is more coherent, which I see in you when you go into nature. Like when you go into nature, there's a coherence that happens. It's sort of like I love you in a glamorous dress, walking on the street with a wide brim hat, dancing to music. And then there's like you in the forest or going on the beach, just touching the sand. And I think it shows that we can exist in multiple formats in different ways. In the same way that a song can be in a video and can be an MP3 file, or could be, it could be a picture on a wall that represents an album. We ourselves can be in different formats, and yet we don't allow ourselves to actually be in these different formats.
That's what has been happening, Srini. I have always been a multidimensional being, and I have what I did prior is I had a ton of different groups of friends, right? So I get to jump in and out of those groups and like be in that embodiment, right? And a full embodiment of like that expression. But then it's like, if I put all my friends in one room, will there be any coherence? Well, I had to think about, if I put all of me in a room, is there coherence? And I had to begin to create that coherence. And that is what the authentic, it's like the merging of my worlds, and appreciating all of me, that I am a multidimensional being, that I am glamorous, but I am a barefoot hippie, and that I am a jazz singer, but I am a chef, and I'm all of these different things, and I'm welcoming it now,
Well, you,
wholeheartedly. And it's great.
like,
It's like you're a singer. You're an opera. Like, remember this, you you blow me away with your talent, because it's so extremely grand and great. Like the Italian song that you sang me, it was like, what what musical are we going to put this on? Or when are we doing this?
well, we have to do that because that's a food song, and I think it's a food
I
song.
know.
But let's do something creative with that.
I would
Because
love that.
yeah, I would love that. But I also want to point out that the thing that really struck me about what you said, which I think is so beautiful, is this thing about, well, will all my friends get along, but will all the parts of me get along? And I think sometimes we're unfriendly toward parts of ourselves because somehow the other people don't see us this way, or people want to see us. People are like, you've got to make yourself a coherent brand or coherent
Yeah.
image. Like, what if like my
What
brand is
is
like all
that?
the different parts of me? Like,
Hmm.
what if I can be a chef and be a spiritual teacher and be a guide and be an artist and be a singer, like all at the same time? You've actually worked with some celebrities. I'm not sure if you can mention their names, but if you can you tell us a little bit
Absolutely.
about them and also what your experience was like as your celebrity was growing, what your experience was like being amongst them in their sort of celebrity worlds?
Honestly, I believe that, first of all, I've never looked for a client. They've all found me through vibrational resonance and that coherence, right? And it's all come, believe it or not, through meditation. I do this 3 day silence. And usually by the third day, something comes in that I don't have on my radar. I'm never saying, oh, I want to work with Serena Williams. Oh, I want to work with Stevie Wonder. Never. That's never the case. It's always that something comes up where I'm being called. I'm listening. I am a good listener. I think that that has been my saving grace, just that impeccable listening to my intuition, to the voice of God within me, of saying, okay, now you have to sit for a moment. Like, okay, we're sitting. And I believe that all of the people that I've worked with, they were preparing me. First of all, it's an honor to be of service to the greatest people on the planet, the number ones, the Serena Williamses, the Stevie Wonders, the Commons, the White House, and Michelle Obamas, that all of these people, I'm so grateful that I've had the honor to serve. But one of the things that it taught me is how to be a great team player, but not just on any team, but on some of the best teams on the planet. What does that look like? Right? Because I am preparing to have my own team, right? Because it's I've always known that I am a number one too. So if I have to nurture that part of me and build my confidence and really just like flow in life. I don't always know why, right? But I know that it happens, and it's like, whoa. Yes, I'm here at Wimbledon. And I literally just lean into it naturally. Like, I'm surprised sometimes myself. Like, how did I get here? How did I get to sit with Srini Pillay after his conference? Muchas gracias. After his, aquí, porfa. Muchas gracias. After his conference, how do I get these experiences? Right? It I'm still figuring it out, but I know you could probably speak to it more since you're the neuroscience guru here. But I would say it's been a pleasure. I've become family with these people, right? A few times I've lived in their homes. For with Serena and Venus, I lived and traveled with them for years. Um, Also, Common, being on tour with Stevie Wonder, and experiencing all of that, and really leaning into the flexibility, because you have to be very flexible to work in this field, right? It's not like a restaurant job where there's so much consistency. You're making fillets and this every single day, and you're going to the same location. No, we have to go to the market in Spain, and then a week later we're in Rome, and we have to wrap our heads around how to do that. Or we're in Connecticut at the big stadium with Stevie Wonder, and we have to figure out how to get lunch or dinner prepared at the venue. All of that is like, it's been great. It's been hard work, strengthening, but I think that it's prepared me so that I could know all of the different levels of having an excellent team. And I just feel like it's preparing me for my next season, which is upon us now.
That's fantastic because this thing about why. I think why is one of the most overrated questions. It's a decent question if you can let it take you somewhere, but
Mm,
not if you actually confuse it with being a reason. And that's because
mm.
for almost nothing in the world is there just one reason. There are
Right.
usually so many things converging, or so many energetic resonances converging. Carl Jung called that meaningful coincidence.
Mm,
Complexity theorists and scientists would say it's it's a result of a complex number of forces all converging at the same time. But with you, I would have to hypothesize that it's your openness to magic that brings magic into your life. And I think so many people think like, oh, that's just so kooky. Like, how could you be open to magic? Well, magic is simply unexplainable fact. It's got nothing to do with being fiction. Magic in this context is unexplainable fact. And if it's unexplainable fact, who are we to say that we can explain every phenomenon in the world? We may not be able to explain it, but we can open the door to it. One of my
mm,
favorite poems is by E. E. Cummings, who said, when man determined to destroy himself, he found the was of shall, meaning he looked at the past determinants of the future, and finding
mm.
why smashed it into because. He said, when the moment he said because, destruction was upon us. And,
Mm.
and so what he's highlighting is the fact that there are situations in which why is actually a destructive force because if we can't figure out why, it's like if someone said, well, Lord, why are you open to magic? And you're like, well, I don't know. And they're like, well, then in that case, shut that door. You're
Yeah.
not, you're not going to shut that door. You're going to be like, I don't care that I don't know why. I'll figure out why later.
That is what I love about you. That's really the brilliance of you. Because if I could even track back to our first meeting, the first song we danced to was Magic by Robin Thicke.
Yes.
And you're right. I didn't know how I would meet you. I wouldn't know if you would even be open to me. Like, oh my God, you are everything. Like, that's how I felt. Like, I was just like, right, because you're this, big Harvard professor on the stage with all these people. There's hundreds of people who are wanting to talk to you, and then there's me.
Well,
And
you really stood out. I mean, you really stood out. And you stood out not only because you're gorgeous, but because I think your energy, like if anyone's around you, they'll know that you vibrate a certain kind of energy. And what you do is you actually make it into a kind of game. like sometimes I love it when you'll run on the spot and you'll be like, whoa, like what? And I was, she's like, she's being humble about the fact and playful about the fact that this very major energy is moving through her. Like I've seen you talk to people in your tribe, right? The reason they follow you is because they know that there's some kind of magic that's being passed through you that they can access. And I think you try to make them aware that it can come through the ground, that it can come through their own bodies, that it can come through their openness in the world. And that I think you're also really an expert at not holding on to the pain. Like you have a way of letting it happen. You're like, okay, all right, is that what's gonna happen now? All right, I guess bring it on. Like it just doesn't matter. And and I think in your most recent paths and evolutions, like you suddenly found yourself in a completely different life, but I don't even know whether to say it's sudden. I feel like all of everything that's been happening has been lesson upon lesson upon lesson, and all of a sudden this opportunity for a different life opened up for you. What do you think led to this exponential change in your life? And if you could talk to some elements of that.
Well, as you said, it's not, it seems sudden, but this is 25 years of dreaming. When I was 15 years old, I always said, I want to live in nature. I want to live overseas. I want to grow my own food. Like I had this vision. I want to build community. I had this vision and I held on to that vision and I kept dreaming it. That's where the Queen of Green came in because I could see myself dressed in plants,
Yeah.
just basking in nature, you know? And that has been what been striving for this whole time, whether it looked like it or not. One thing I realized is it doesn't really matter if people understand what's going on. I know. And it may look like twists and turns and all these things and glamour, but the core of me is that. The
Yeah.
core of me is the Queen of Green who wants to be in nature. Although, like you said, I can get glamorous, I could have on this and that and be on the red carpet and do all of those things. I love that too.
Sure.
But this seemingly sudden change is not a sudden change at all. This is years of cultivating this vision and feeling worthy enough to receive it. You know, the feelings of being worthy that I can and that it can happen to me like it could be gifted. It could be it doesn't have to be, oh, I have to work so hard to do this. No, it's just like everything else has fallen in my lap. Everything else has fallen in my lap. I Whenever I try, it doesn't work. Whenever I release and I just have fun and I just I don't even have to visualize anything, right? I didn't visualize, like I said, Stevie Wonder or Serena. I didn't visualize these people. Yeah, I really want to work with them. That wasn't it. It was just that I was vibrating on a frequency and perhaps the same frequency as them. And then it happened. The same like this. It's like I've been wanting this, like, oh, dreaming it. And I've had spurts of it where I would be in nature because I travel so much and be in nature for long periods of time. But to live now is my dream come true. So yeah,
Well, there's a framework I have that I'm sort of interested in thinking out loud with you about, which is
yeah,
in because what you're talking about is authenticity, but what I think you're really talking about when I look at your playfulness and how you're playful with what comes at you and how play itself opens up a number of opportunities, right? In my last book, which is Tinker Dabble Doodle Try, Unlock the Power of the Unfocused Mind, it was about how the science of play and how by opening up what's possible in the default mode network in the brain, you can your brain can make complex equations, it can grasp abstractions, and it can bring you to this playful place. But as I'm speaking to you, and I don't think I've thought about this in terms of you before, but it's a very I feel very sort of informed by this particular insight, which is that in Hinduism there is a construct that is Satchit Ananda, which is being, consciousness, bliss, with the idea being
Mhm.
that our fundamental nature, whatever offshoot of God we are, is bliss. All
Mhm.
the stuff about the mind is around that. And then we pay attention to all the vagaries of the mind, and all the inputs from the world are around that. And then we pay attention to the inputs of the world. And sometimes we react to the mind. We get
Mhm.
angry, we get upset, we react to the world, we get angry, we get upset, when in fact, this inner sanctum, which is all bliss, is what play highlights. And play is
Mhm.
basically like you can go with like the low energy of reacting to the world or reacting to the mind, but when you go to what's happening in this place of bliss, stuff that happens is beyond any linearity. That's where exponentials are born. And it doesn't have to come through, like I think you and I, that kind of play comes naturally. Any kind of intense focus or concentration, any kind of intense immersion. I remember the first time I met you and I go to your website and I'm like, okay, these are like different kinds of pineapples. Like, what is she doing with these pineapples? Like, what? What?
What's
What?
happening here?
What is happening here? Like, what? And then I was like, and you were teasing me at the time. I think because I ate everything. You were like, I will make you the best plant-based steak you've ever had, and I was like, that's a big challenge. I'm not sure you're going to be able to do that. And you do cook deliciously. And so I think a lot of the love that you have in your heart, and it sounds like you've been influenced by people in your life, that love becomes instantly translated to the food that you make. Not only in the
Mm.
beauty, but in the taste. And
Thank you.
so it's such a multi-sensory thing to see you, to taste what you're making, to hear you, to understand you beyond your sensations. It's a very rich experience. And when people come to you for that kind of guidance, when they say, Lauren, show me, like take me to this place, like how do I get there? What there's a way I would describe some of that, but I'd love to know if you were to give people some advice in this, what would you tell them about how to get to this place of joy and magic?
It's always present, as you said. It's always there. It's what you choose to tune into, right? So, uh, you mentioned something that there's like, I have this gift of just letting go of pain. Like maybe I feel it, but then I don't have, I have this thing where I don't let it, I don't let it stick to me. You know, it could be the worst thing that happened. And then I know I'm so confident in source and in my place in the universe that it's got to be working out for my good. This
Right.
is definitely going to be turning into something great here. Right, so just that optimism, just that openness to magic, that ah this is an opportunity. I think that is one of my saving graces. But just, it's a choice, knowing that it's a choice, that I could choose to say, you know what, oh yeah, that. And it's like, girl, we do not have time for that. Okay. Like I have like 1.5 seconds for that kind of vibration. Okay.
Right.
Get it out if you need to, but we're not staying there at all.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
And then it's just like, I think that there's many doors in many ways you can access this joy, but the main thing to know is that it's sitting inside of you, that you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to run anywhere. You don't have to go talk to a guru. There's an inner guru. There's an inner wise woman, wise man. There's that such, say it again, such
That's
Chiananda,
right.
that there is that presence inside, that magic, that miracle that we have access to. And I think what happened to me is that I felt like I couldn't afford a drop of this frequency. I couldn't afford it. It's too expensive for me.
Right.
Darling, it's just far too, that's not in the budget.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is like giving up on miracles is like giving up on $1 million.
Yeah.
Like, like why? How can you give up your attention to? Because that whole what that does is it opens up. it's not just like, well, some people are fortunate enough to connect with whatever that zone is, and then they're able to bring things to themselves in that zone. But I think it's more about having this kind of radical openness to the possibility of it.
That's it. The radical openness, the audacity,
Yeah.
right? It was the audacity I had to say, uh, to even think that I could be your friend, but then to be open to it is that, wow, who knew that I'd be chair dancing, listening to magic for, it's like, wow, life is every day God is showing me, source is showing me how miraculous life is, how when you take a step towards it, that it'll take 10 steps towards you, right? But you have to be fearless. There's a fearlessness, right? To just be, right? For me to show up the way I show up sometimes,
Yeah.
you know, you have to be fearless. You have to have the audacity and that radical openness to the miracles. And then it shows up. It's real.
Well, I think some people have this habit of being obsessed with external things, right? They're like,
Mhm.
you made me feel like this and you caused that. And so I can't feel like that. And it's like, well, okay, you can keep going after those things and try to change what those things are, but you've got a limited time on earth. And as you said, can you afford to give up the relationship with your own miraculous self in order to go after whatever that energy is? There were a couple of things I saw today, actually, which were kind of cool. They were there was some quotes on a different Instagram post that I was pretty I was impressed by. Some of them have expletives, so maybe I'll leave them out. But basically, stop being so effing forgiving. People know exactly what the f they're doing. Then there was another one that was uh, stop being the one who always makes the effort. Relax and let the ship sink. Or in your case, relax and let the gifts come in. Right?
Yes.
Uh, Stay away from people who act like a victim in a problem they created. Like, you know,
It's like, darling,
right.
not on my timeline.
Yeah. And this one I particularly like, which is forgiving people in silence and never speaking to them again is a form of self-care.
I love it.
Right.
And it's the truth. You know what? That's so good because there was a time where I felt like I had to address everything. I had to be so honest about this is how it's like, girl,
Right.
it's what? First of all, none of their business, none of your bit. Just like, just go ahead and let that roll off your shoulders. You don't have to address it. You could quietly acknowledge it and realize that that's fine. No hard feelings. I don't want to sit with that resentment, but I also don't prefer the flavor of this, right? It's just like with food, like I don't prefer that. It's not my thing, so I'm not going to be partaking of it. No big deal. That might be for someone else, but it's not for me. Quietly, it's like being polite, being kind, and having manners, right? Having better
Yes.
manners. Like, oh, thank you.
I like how you started with the song, and I feel like you're ending with the song underneath of it, which is all of me. Why not take all of me? That's really what I think you're saying to the world and to the universe,
Yes.
which is like when you say why not take all of me, what you're saying is you are all of me and I am
Mm.
all of you. And I think that is a formula for peace.